So, how can you improve your early game? Well, first off, if you're one of the guys who open limps, the small pocket pairs, all day long, you need to stop playing with your whole cards face up. I'm not the only guy in the world who's capable of making light isolation raises. You're not risking a lot of equity, but you're still just basically burning money against some good regulars. Of course, you can still keep doing it. You can still keep set mining if you know that the table behind you is full of fish. But if there's regulars behind you, first off, they might be capable of isolating you light. And second, like, dude, even if you hit your set against them, are they gonna stack off against you? If they see you as somebody who open limits small pocket pairs, are they gonna stack off with top pair when you hit a set and start raising them? Maybe, but it's highly unlikely if the villain has any kind of skill. The whole concept of me trying to suggest that you should loosen up your early game is like, in the early game the blinds themselves are small. They are not really worth stealing, or, well, I can't say that they're not worth stealing, but they are worth much less than in the mid game and late game, where the blinds alone are very worth stealing. So in the early game we need to create a pot and then steal it and then win it. Just like the light isolation race, there's no pot to speak of pre-flop, but we create a pot by raising and sucking the villain in when we know the pattern with which he plays. We raise small. We don't want him to fold pre-flop in that case, because we know that on the flop he's going to miss 88% of the time. He's going to miss his set 88% of the time, and all those times we assume that he's going to fold. Maybe he's going to call with overcards, but stuff like that. But it's not going to ruin the move at all. It's going to be rare. So not overcards, but overpair. Anyway, we create a pot and then steal it. That way we can have edges big enough to justify making a loose and crazy looking move. And in general, steal. I just said that the blinds themselves are not or worth less stealing than in the late game, but that also means that if you have regulars in the blinds, they are that much less interested in defending their blinds. Like, most regulars are super nitty in the early game. Most play like VPIP 8, PFR 5, around that region, and these guys are just not interested at all on how often you steal their blind. It's just they will see you raise and they will flip over and they will pick up a hand like ace-5 offsuit, and they're like, oh, well, it's the early game, I'm not interested in the hand. Also, against regulars, it's not gonna ruin your image. It doesn't matter how often you steal their blind from the small blind, the button, or the cutoff. It doesn't matter. In general, in sit and goes, people are either A, too stupid to realize, or B, too busy to pay attention. If somebody's playing 25 tables, chances are that he's never gonna notice that you're stealing every single time you're on the button. So take advantage of that. This way you will slowly build a little bit of a pot for the mid game, and you can, in general, ask yourself, would you like to start the mid game on average with a 1500 or 1400 chips by folding through the early game, or maybe as much as on average 1700 chips if you take advantage of the weaker regulars and you find spots to exploit weaker players with. Finally, a good idea to improve your edge in the early game is to learn post-flop play by watching cash and MTT videos on CardRunners. Sit and go videos usually don't include much of post-flop play. Post-flop play is usually something that you only do in cash and MTT games. Of course, like sit and goes, especially turbos, it very quickly becomes a pre-flop game. So thus, most sit and go regulars are not very good at post-flop play. So if you want to have an edge in the early game, go ahead and do it in the post-flop and widen up your opening ranges. So there we go.